Oh no, it was definitely something I tapped into. I started off behind the mic, believe it or not. That was my first entry. That was the only entry that I knew at the particular time. I didn't really even know how the production process even was. I had never seen the MPC. So, the quickest thing you could do is pick up a pen and a paper before you could reach in your pocket for $1,400 is, what I'm saying, to buy MPC or some type of beat equipment, musical equipment. So, yes, indeed, I started off, what I'm saying, writing, and just different styles, listening to different artists. I want to say Stillmatic was one of those pivotal albums, for me when I said, what, this is something, this is around 2001, 2002, with the Nas and JB, listening to those, those were the first two albums that I picked up and listened to on my own from start to finish. I had listened to my father's music and the music he liked, just being exposed to different kinds of music, listening to those two is really kind of where I developed a somewhat of a rhyme style, and going into production, once I figured out, how it was done, thanks to my, shout out to my cousin who brought he brought FL home one time from school from one of his classmates. And once he popped that into the computer, it was on from there. And I just kind of fell in love with the process of production. But when I do need to write, I still, every now and again, I'll write something down. Nobody will know about it. I just, just to make sure I could still do it for times like these, if I need to come in. Because my whole thing is, it's not necessarily being out front, but just kind of assessing, like Frank said, I come in the room, assess it. Okay, what needs to be done here? What needs to go here? It might just need me doing an ad lib, or I might not even need to be on it. You understand? Or I might not do too much on the production. You understand what I'm saying? Or I might give Frank a pointer or two as far, about how his tone or something like that. And that was one of them with Frank, with Knowledge of the Drip. I remember he recorded it. I thought his tone was too low. And I said, Frank, do that again, just in a higher, pitch your voice up a little bit, and just it laid right where it needed to be as far as the frequency of the song. You understand what I'm saying? So that's really, what I was probably able to bring to the table, what I bring to the table when we talk about, production and rhyming. But yeah, that was definitely one, I pulled out the bag. I had to dust off the skill. You know what I'm saying? Collected a lot of dust over the years. So
talking about like the origin of like the initially recording. So like, just to give the quick joint, like I started emceeing around like when I was 12 in middle school, and that was during like the G Unit era and whatnot. So I kid you not, like that's what like was like my introduction. That was what I was listening to, and just also the environment that I grew up in. Like it was just so relevant to the things that we experienced. Sadly, some things we shouldn't have been experiencing at that age, but it is what it is. Like the reason I started rhyming, it was funny enough, like I was always like creative, doing like the poetry, creative writing, court like stuff in school, even when I was just the class clown. Like I enjoyed that aspect. So then as you start maturing and that puberty's hitting more so, and then like all my homies is getting into like sports and whatnot, and then shorties is becoming a bigger play and things of that nature. So I just started noticing, like I didn't have an interest like in sports like that, or I suck at basketball, bro. Like it's like I'm a black dude, so like I got a sweet spot. Like I stay in one spot, I'm always gonna make it. But like after a while, they gonna catch you. So you pass me the ball, I'm passing it back. That's it. It's like, or I'm running up on everybody and I'm talking trash and telling them like, yo, your grandma stink, like whatever. Right? So,
like some NBA players, like some. That's
you just get paid to pass. You just get paid to pass. Like yo,
let me stop.
Because of like that, and I just seen the music was something that like always grew up in like a musical like house. Things to that nature. So I just started rapping like just to stay connected with my friends on some type of tip. So like when if you ever recollect that song, Jay-Z had his verse on Ludacris, I Do It For Hip Hop with like Nas and Jay on that joint, and he was like, I used to rap to impress my friends. Like that was really it. Like it was just for my friends, and then I started growing this affinity towards it. And the first time, like probably like at 14, 15, caught this BS $20 Radio Shack mic. It was a little skinny joint. Like the mic, like yo, and that was like, and they had like the standing joint. And I used to just have like my bros like pull up to my crib, and like I was just rapping. Like the sound was hot garbage. It was so traga. So like. So then, like, just doing that, and I remember I was like, yo, I hate my voice. Like, yo, this one's crazy. It's ugh. Right? So that's how I used to hate my voice, but I loved rapping. So, like, I would still record, but always in the back of my hated my voice. And one of my biggest things was, like, I always had, like, the creativity of, like, saying witty things, but it was just adapting a more rhythmic flow. Like, because, like, I was just Mr. Run-On sentence. Like, you know, like, it was just like that. And I went and say, and it's funny because, like, even my mom's, like, when she, like, had found out, she was like, I mean, you nice, but that's fact. Like, that's a fact. Like, and it's just like, she was like, you my son, you gotta represent. Like, I love you, but like, I'm not gonna coddle you and like this. But like, yo, that's that black mama love right there, son. So like, right. So she kept it 100 with me, and like, I really attribute and credit like two people really helping me, like even my mom. So she so let's say 3, right? But like, she didn't know how to say it in the proper musical terminology that would just make it stick with me. So one of the, like, when I first met Jay Ronan, he was recording, he would give like pointers and stuff. And that's one of the things, like, any artist who's ever recorded with Ronan during one of his sessions, like, he's also willing to give like constructive criticism. And he's not here to just take your money and just be like, okay, thank you. Like, it's like, yo, I really feel like you can make this record better if you do such and such. Like, but so he said one sentence that really just like hit. He was like, yo, you're dope, but hip hop is about saying a lot without saying too much, you know? Like, and it's just like, and right there, like it hit. And then I'm a part of this collective called The Fraternity, where it was a bunch of us like who met online. Like, so shout out to the homie Sleep, Cocaine Chris, Just Ride, like that's like they in Ohio, Flint, Michigan, got Species as well in Canada, and then my boy Xavier Medina, who's in Jersey. Like, we all connected, and it was all of this producer named Dope Antelope. And the funny thing about Dope Antelope, so like this was like 2011. Like, none of us to this day know what Dope Antelope looked like. So like, it's like from Charlie's Angels.
Okay.
We never like, we would talk like we met on some internet forum, and then it jumped over to Facebook, and then like, but nobody met Dope Antelope. So it was just the funniest thing to this day. Oh, shout out to the Gons who did my first project, Free Lunch. He was one of the other producers in the fraternity, and that's my bro. He's out in Mankato, Minnesota. So Dope, he would say like similar things that was wrong with saying. So I remember he would just be like, yo, he would send me music, and then he would legit type like, yo, you see how he hit this cadence like right here, da da da, and it hits on like this like snare and whatnot. And it's just like the simple little nuances, like, and then just start going into like experiencing different like flow patterns instead of now just being like a one-trick pony. It was like rap, attack, and black. Like you start doing internal rhyme schemes and like and whatnot, and just start playing with flows. So like that's just like how things started, like, you know, progressing, and then like the artistry started finally coming full rounded. And even like what I would say, like on this project, Slim Mickens with Chuck, like even Chuck like had suggested like, yo, we should just like play with like even more like intricate flows, like where it's just like you just take them like on that ride. Like that's what like I did like. Yeah, like when I did Pan Bread, he was like, yo, that's what I'm talking about. It's like like when you hear, and then there was certain like it's certain drums, like the way his and I love it. Like it's like Chuck drums be hitting the swings on it, right? Like, you know, some like it's not like he tries to over quantize. Nah, he leave a soul in it. He leave a soul in it. And like when you hear like the record that's about to, you know, drop, the Martin X joint, like when you hear that, like the drum patterns, it's just like you took like some African bongo type joints. It's like yeah, what was it?
Man, it was. I don't
can't get a producer trades out. I ain't trying to get a secret.
I'll just tell you this, because I sampled a lot of different. Shout out to Pete Rock. That was like we said, going back, like you said, Sanchez, talking about the challenges. You understand what I'm saying? How we had with quarantine, but also the challenging and producing. You know what I'm saying? When I approach producing, you know, I try not to recreate. You know, I mean, it's real easy. You know, we all started in the beginning when we first started making beats. If you could make a beat like what you just heard, it was like, wow. You know, and then after a while, you know, it kind of, you want to do something else. You understand what I'm saying? But when I was able to, on my journey through producing, you know, just challenging myself, you know, I said, you know, I never sampled more than one record, you know. But when you listen to Bomb Squad, Public Enemy, you listen to Premier, you listen to Pete Rock, anybody who was doing beats back then, you know, they was sampling. I mean, they had to sample multiple records, especially if you weren't playing the bass line, or if you wasn't playing it on the keyboards, or you would sample a string, a tape string or something like that, you know, from one record. You sample another instrument, a note from a record, and then you would play that sample as if you were playing on a keyboard. You know, so it was customary to do that. And I guess at some point when I started doing it, making beats and sampling, I went around, you know, it was just Blaze and Kanye. Those were the guys. And you didn't really listen to the Blueprint. You don't really hear too many at that point, you know, especially after with, you know, how the music industry basically cut down on that, and with as far as like the royalty, it's like, nah, it doesn't make financial sense to do it. You know, you start seeing those one samples, you know what I'm saying? So, but then I said, I want to go back to that. We got to bring some, artistically, it's challenging, you know, to find different samples from different records. I probably used about a good 15 different samples from different places in that song, you know, in Martin X, you know, and for it to come out the way that it did, you know, we'll see if the fans, well, I'll leave that to the fans, but man, that was definitely a challenge. That was definitely a challenge. Something I would definitely like to do again, you know, in the future. But